The luxury of a late start at 1:45 today as the riders in the Tour de France leave Valence in welcome sunshine. The shrinking peloton is now without Britain's Max Chiandri. The Italian-based hope for the Olympic Games continues with a season so far disrupted by injury. Now it's a painful muscle behind the knee, which has again sidelined him. For the rest, it's business as usual, chasing the overall leader, Bjarne Riis, who still has 40 seconds in hand over the Russian Evgeny Berzin. Yesterday, the leaders all finished alongside one another, so there was no change at all overall. Chris Boardman keeps his 34th place. And Chris himself heading for a very respectable finish in Paris. But you know, since Miguel Indurain faltered in the Alps, it's been the German team of Bjarne Riis who've ridden very solidly at the front. And this is something new to them. So last night, Paul Schoen went to the hotel to find out a little bit more about the team and also whether they can cope with the pressures.
Team Telecom have undergone a remarkable transformation over the last 12 months. In 1995, they were surprised and disappointed to only get selection for the Tour de France in a mixed team with ZG Mobili. Despite only having 6 members in the race, they still came away with 2-stage victories for Erik Zabel. The addition of Bjarne Riis during the winter and the emergence of rising star Jan Ullrich has changed the outlook of the team. The confidence of 32-year-old Riis has proved instrumental in the change of attitude of the Telecom team. After finishing 5th and 3rd in the last 2 tours, his message was he can win the Tour de France.
Yeah, actually he said it even in the winter time, you know, when we met him first time, and we had a team meeting in November and he signed a contract and he was like, okay, my only goal is to win the Tour de France, and everybody was a little bit, well, yes, we try to help as good as we can, but and then, yeah, we had a team meeting again at the first stage in the Netherlands, and he stood up and he said, okay, this is a team, I think it's a really good team, and if you do everything for me, I try to do everything to win the Tour, and I really hope we can work really good together. And everybody was still a little bit, well, maybe not, but, you know, we got to believe him anyway. I mean, he's the team leader.
For the moment, Riis is keeping his word. He's currently leading the race by 40 seconds. But Team Telecom also have Erik Zabel leading the green jersey competition and rising star Jan Ullrich lying in 5th place. This kind of success is pushing the levels of endurance even higher, especially for the team workers who have to respond to all the attacks, keeping Bjarne Riis in their slipstream so that he can conserve as much energy as possible for the great battles that lie ahead in the mountains.
I think nobody ever went to his limit like that, like in this Tour de France, but I think we won 3 stages. We got the yellow jersey, the green one, and it's such a big surprise for the team and for the rest. So anyway, whatever comes, it was a good tour for us.
This next week will be crucial for Team Telecom as the race heads into the Pyrenees. How will they be able to handle the stress and strain of defending the yellow jersey?
Yeah, nobody knows that yet. I mean, we will see. There are a couple of really hard stages like Pamplona and so, and I don't think Indurain is done yet. I mean, he really wants to come back and to show how strong he is, and I think he is really strong anyway. I think he's don't have the best team right now, but he's really strong, so it's just a question, you know, for us, how long.
And Aldag and the team have another busy day ahead of them today over the 143.5 kilometers from Valence-Le Puy-En-Velay. It's an undulating route through the Ardèche and the Haute-Loire, and we'll see some stunning scenery, although I doubt the riders will notice that. Resplendent in yellow today, Bjarne Riis, and at least he has no doubt who will win this race. He thinks he will. But apart from today, the roads ahead will remain difficult, not least the Pyrenees, of course, which will start next Tuesday. Also in the big peloton, Miguel Indurain. He made one error in the Alps, but his confidence, yes, he's taken a knock, but only a fool would count him out of this tour yet. We've still got to go towards Spain, and don't forget, we go virtually past the home of Miguel Indurain. Out on the course, an early breakaway. It was first over the top of the Col des Fonds at 758 meters. And the man who went over first, Jesper Skibby, best placed in a 9-man breakaway which formed after 10 kilometers today. Garcia Casas for Festina second. Eric Breukink of the Rabobank team, he was there in 3rd.
And again, sunshine over the roads of the Tour de France, but the possibility of some cloud cover later in the afternoon, and still the temperature soaring, 25 degrees at 1,400 meters, so it'll be a hot day and only slight winds from the north.
And here at Marillac in the sprint, At 60 kilometers, 38 miles, the breakaway was well settled in despite a flurry of chasing attacks. They've all been swept up, and now Flavio Vancella, Laurent Roux and Jesper Skibby, they didn't even contest the sprint because the lead over the main field now, they've pushed it up to 5 minutes and 49 seconds. And that lead now has been extended somewhat as the peloton has taken an early day off, I think, because it's gone out now to 8 minutes and 20 seconds at the last time check. Well, as we see some of the beauty here of the Ardèche, it gives us a chance to remind you of our competition this Sunday. As usual, we'd like you to pick the winner of the stage. It's between Besse and Toul. The course is not particularly hilly, but it's certainly not flat. If you're lucky enough to win the competition, your prize will be a yellow jersey. One of those large lines as held by the overall leader each evening, a pair of those yellow specs of Evgeny Berzin's, the Sean Kelly story, which is a 2-part new video, and if you watch tomorrow, who knows, you may have added 1 or 2 more prizes as well. When you think you know the name of the man who'll win Sunday's stage, make your selection on, here's the telephone number coming at you, 0891 114400. And the very best of luck. Now the riders are on the climb of the Col de la Champ. It's a 10-mile climb, 16 kilometers. They're coming up towards the feeding station, by the way, which is on the top of this climb, bringing the riders up to the high spot of the day here in the Ardèche. These 9 riders, the last time check we got, which was midway up the climb, 11 minutes and 20 seconds at advantage. The best placed rider in this breakaway is at the back of it right now, Jesper Skibby, the Danish rider on the Dutch TVM squad. He started the day 27 minutes and 57 seconds behind. Well, he's found 11 of those at the moment as they've gone over the top of the col, and absolutely nobody contesting the sprint at the front.
Well, that's not what's important to these riders. The same as the breakaway yesterday. What is important is working together and keeping a good atmosphere in the breakaway so that they'll work and keep building up on that lead. But you know, at the moment, over 11.5 minutes is a massive lead over the main field, which just aren't reacting at all.
Well, there they are, and you can see a solid mass of riders just tempo riding, and in the centre of the picture there is Alex Zula. Off to his right shoulder is Patrick Jonker, the Australian rider who's having a great tour for the Once team. And they're all tempo riding. On the left, we've got Bernard Thibault of the Motorola team, and on our right, the King of the Mountains, and building himself quite a lead in the last few days, Richard Virenque in that polka dot jersey. This is a very steady climb. They're not steep climbs here in the Ardèche. They just drag on an awful long way. This one's 16 kilometers, and there's no real pressure. You can see from the big peloton how easily they're riding along. A little bit more concern perhaps here as they come to La Champ Raphael, which is where the feeding station is for the breakaway riders. A reminder of all the names: Laurent Roux, who went over the top of the climb in first place for TVM, he's here. Pascal Richard, Flavio Vancella, here's the feed now as they grab their little sacks of food. Eric Breukink, Felix Garcia Casas, Danny Nelson, Mirko Gualdi, a former world champion, Melchior Mauri and Jesper Skibby. That's the composition of the group. Pascal Richard, a stage winner in a previous Tour de France, and possibly a winner today if it comes down to it.
A very clever rider. Let's not forget he's the man that outwitted Lance Armstrong when we went to Liège-Bastogne-Liège. 3 riders coming up to the finish line, and he feigned a little bit of fatigue there and forced Armstrong to lead out the sprint, and then he beat him just on the line by about half a wheel.
A little bit more perhaps speed in the bunch there. They've strung it out a little bit as they start to go for the bottom half of the King of the Mountains points, but remember the top 9 places have gone. I think Richard Virenque might want to just show the big field that he's the best climber in the race again for a 3rd year, and might well start a sprint very shortly going up to the summit. But basically the race is all together here, and all of the stars have not put the Telecom under pressure. In fact, the Telecom team, Paul, you know, they're obviously a little bit worried about looking after Bjarne Riis. They're going to feel pretty happy with the way this day is going.
Well, you could almost say it's a day off for the Telecom boys, because they've got a great situation out on the road. A break of 9 riders, not one of those riders dangerous. Even if the break were to take 20 minutes and move Jesper Skibby up in the overall standings, they're not too worried about Skibby, because when they go into the big mountains, Skibby would fall away again just naturally. So they can sit back and just watch the main field rolling along.
Well, we haven't seen any pictures of Uriarte, Miguel Indurain's teammate, for quite a while, but I'm hearing from race radio he's 5 minutes 40 behind the 9 leaders, so he is coming back, in fact, towards this big peloton. He's certainly not going forward towards the 9 men. The best thing he could do would be have a nice sit down on the road and wait for the bunch.
There is confirmation of that time at 5 minutes and 40 seconds. He could well take a page out of the book of Federico Barmontes, who stopped at the side of the road one time and had an ice cream while he waited for the main field.
Well, on a day like this, it's certainly the hottest day of the Tour. It is absolutely delightful weather here in the Ardèche. The temperature is going over 30 degrees Celsius today, and it is a beautiful day to watch the Tour de France. At last, everybody feeling that is what they're on. The big bunch then coming up the climb. The gap now, as you saw there, over 13 minutes now, so it could even be 14 minutes when they tip over the top of the Col de la Champ. They're certainly not worried about that breakaway at all today, but you know, Brianna Reese is going to be very happy, but the other favourites should be thinking that it's a day lost for them to put the pressure on. It started well with a series of great attacks right out of the gate this morning, but then they were all marshalled by the Telecom boys, and the riders got those 9 men away that didn't matter, and the formation was right, and the attacks turned off. And now we've got the big peloton just climbing here very, very steadily indeed. Richard Virenque in the middle, dancing on those pedals in the polka dot jersey. He's made this competition his for the last 2 years, and going an awful long way in the Alps to make it 3 in a row. Fernandez Gines on the right, the Spanish champion. He was second yesterday, outwitted by the smallest man in the race, little Kepi Gonzalez, getting his first victory in Europe yesterday, although he's won quite a few races down in Colombia. Very compact little group now as it comes up here. Despite the pace today, one rider has retired, Emmanuel Magnon, which has taken the field down to 145. So they're still dropping out one by one, and I think if we go into when we go into the Pyrenees rather next week, then the high mountains there will probably take out perhaps another dozen. So as the bunch makes its way very gently up the Col de la Champ, the leader's already over the top. The last time check we got was 13 minutes and 5 seconds. It's a good chance for us to take a break.
Louison Bobet looked like he was suffering in the 1954 Tour. He was well rewarded for it in the end. The story of Bobet's big year after the break. In 1954, the great French rider Louison Bobet not only won the second of his 3 consecutive Tours, he also rode to victory in the World Championships, a double that was recognised with France's highest honour, the Légion d'Honneur, presented to him at the Élysée Palace in front of thousands of admiring fans.
You know, one of the ironies of being a cyclist as opposed to a tourist on the Tour de France is that after 3 weeks, your abiding memory of the glory of French scenery is likely to be the bum of the bloke in front of you. But if the riders can raise their sights from the immediate horizon today, Le Puy offers some features of outstanding beauty.
The features that stand out are huge volcanic outcrops forced up by shifts in the Earth's crust thousands of years ago. The features that stand on top are man-made and more recent. The Chapel of Saint-Michel is medieval, built 300 feet up to be as close to God as possible, and conclusive proof that despite what Eddie Cochran said, there are more than 3 steps to heaven.
It's like the emergency stairwell at Covent Garden Tubes when the lifts aren't working. Hopefully, the view's going to be better when I get to the top.
Well, thankfully, there are no buskers or religious-themed restaurants, yet at least. Just a beautiful chapel with its stained glass and fading frescoes, and a vista which includes an even more impressive monument on an even higher rock. The statue of the Virgin Mary and Child, which adds another 75 feet to the 400-foot outcrop it stands on, was the idea of the local bishop, Monsignor Morland. Fundraising, though, was going badly until Napoleon III donated a consignment of cannons from the Crimean War. And that, bizarrely, is what Our Lady is made of. 213 of them melted down.
It really is an amazing work of religious devotion, although it has to be said that the faithful, perhaps with an eye on the Napoleonic tourist trade, weren't so pious that they didn't put a few windows in the Virgin Mary so that the pilgrims could do some sightseeing as well.
And she still attracts a mixture of the religious and the curious. Her innards, rather disrespectfully, covered in graffiti from those who've come to Le Puy from all over the world to ask for help.
Well, thank you, Gary. In fact, the winner of the stage that left Le Puy back in 1990, by the way, was Marina Larreta, the Spanish climber, who is sitting right next to us here now commentating on Spanish television. Now, here's something Gary should have been doing on his afternoon off. jumping off this bridge on a bungee as the riders go by, and approximately 126 kilometers into the race here. The lead, however, is now 14 minutes and 50 seconds over the race, and we're into the town of Le Monastir-sur-Gazille, and the man taking the sprint here and putting in an attack at the same time is Laurent Roux.
Well, he's trying to pretend that he was going for the sprint there. In fact, what he's going to do, I think, is over the top of this climb, he will insist and try and open up a gap. There's about 30 kilometers to go to the finish here. In fact, it looks very much to me as if the main group now are trying to decide who's going to chase him down.
So as we watch Laurent Roux break clear here, the main field at the last check we had was 14 minutes and 5 seconds behind. In between the main field and the breakaway of 9, with the exception of Roux, who's just gone clear, we have got Jose Luis Uriarte of the Benesto team. He's been there all day, and he's riding 10 minutes and 40 seconds behind this breakaway group. And the breakaway forming on the descent of the Côte du Pin, which was the 10-kilometer point of the course. And then it looks as though the counterattacks are coming back here. We've got the Polti rider, Medico Gualdi, who's trying to cause a reaction, being chased here by Melchior Mauri.
And Mauri hasn't waited. He let Gualdi make the effort there, went straight over the top as soon as he could see behind him that they had 2 or 3 lengths clear. But everybody now starting to react, and I think the effort by Mauri will bring it all back together.
And no sooner said than done. Now back to a familiar train here in the peloton. The boys in pink and white from Telecom are on the front now. They came up to the front about 10 or 15 kilometers ago. Until then, it had been the Mappe team who were doing most of the chasing, or rather not so much chasing as keeping it at a respectful 13 minutes and allowing it to go no further. But in this last hour, the Telecom have come to the front, and they're the ones controlling the pace yet again. One rider out today, Emmanuel Magnon, taking the field down to 145. With 10 of them up the road, I think the other 135 left in the Tour are all in this big bunch today. And there's the Devil. And when they see him, they know it's not too far to go. Well, you spoke to the Telecom team last night, Paul, and I think you found them quite confident, didn't you?
Very confident. They were a happy bunch of riders, and they have played today's tactics exceptionally well. They waited and watched to see how the breakaways would develop, and once a non-dangerous breakaway did, they just let it go and waited to see if any of the other teams would start to chase down, because a lot of teams in this Tour de France so far don't have anything. They don't have any stage victories, and what has happened really is Telecom has waited till the end and then started to chase. So really they're only working for an hour and a half of the day, which is very sensible considering the next 2 stages, which are going to be extremely tough.
So they're all getting frisky now. This is Pascal Richard, who said he was really looking forward to riding the Tour de France this year. He didn't want to ride it last year, and he didn't, but this year he really has charged himself up mentally again for the big one. Joined immediately there by Danny Nelson. Now Melchior Mauri trying to go across. He's taking Breukink. They're all tucking in again, including the little man Laurent Roux.
Well, every time there's a gap, it looks as if Melchior Mauri is the man who misses out, but straight away he closes down because he knows how dangerous it is at this stage of the game to let any riders get a slight gap. Danny Nelson comes to the front now, looks over his shoulder to make sure that Pascal Richard can push on the pedals as well. And the thing is, this MG team came here to win stages. That's what they said their only goal was, and unfortunately they missed out on one yesterday with Alberto Eli in that front group coming in 3rd place.
Well, it's easy to come here with the target of winning stages. Everybody would love to in the Tour de France, of course. The daily prize is only around £3,000 for the stage winner. But on the other hand, it does mean that you will go away from the Tour and everybody will know of you. Still no life in the big peloton. All the day's prizes of note have gone. There are points, of course, for Eric Zabel's green jersey. For 11th place today, he could score 15 points, so I'm sure we'll see Zabel go for that 11th place finish when we get down to the finish at Le Puy. And tucking right on the back of Melchior Mauri is that lovable little limpet, Laurent Roux, who's gone up there straight away to tack onto the back of Melchior Mauri. He's going to mark everybody, Paul, and if he can, he's going to win this stage.
Well, he's had so many second places this year, he'd like to forget about it. He definitely doesn't want to finish second today. But a man who's been quite quiet in this group is 4th from the back at the moment in the yellow jersey, Jesper Skibby, a very talented rider as they go under the 5-kilometer banner. It won't be long, I don't think, before we see a move come from Jesper.
Just 5 kilometers to go. And another kick by Eric Breukink. No reaction from Melchior Mauri. Yes, there is. He looks over and sees Jesper Skibby Laurent Roux's going to have to wait for a convenient wheel to come by his right shoulder to grab onto it. It looks like he's found it, and somebody's left the door open for him as well. Polka dot jersey of the Tour de France, and as they say, the architects of the nature. Very, very nicely done in flowers down there.
Quite sure that in the back of Laurent Roux's mind, he's thinking about that attack yesterday. But this is Gualdi who's going now, the former world champion from 1990 when the event was in Japan. But he's got a great lead and nobody's reacted.
He's gone with 4 kilometers to go, and this is the move. You've got to keep trying, and the lucky one gets it. And it looks as though Marco Gualdi may have it here for Polti. He's opened the biggest gap so far. He's giving it full effort here now. He dashes through the streets, heading down towards Le Puy itself. And Marco Gualdi, the world amateur champion, as he goes under the 4 kilometer banner there. No sign of a reaction yet.
Well, he's been a professional for 3 years and doesn't have a win to his name. And it would be an incredible victory if the first one would be of the Tour de France. But, you know, the first man to react behind him was Laurent Roux. And the whole of that pack is coming back to him. He's gone a little bit too far out, but all the time these riders realise if the break goes, they can lose the stage.
He's a little bit unlucky. He's hit this long straight road, because while they can see him, they're going to try and reach out and grab him. Danny Nelson has done his bit, now wants some help. Melchior Mauri in the pink, not interested. Jesper Skibby's running down the other side of the road, and Melchior decides that's a better train to be part of.
But they're starting to play around a little bit now, and still Marco Gualdi has got 40 or 50 meters lead, and that's another attack by Eric Brooking. Brooking is like a man possessed, and directly there's Laurent Roux.
So Roux going after Brooking now, and Brooking is breaching that gap rapidly. It's nice to see Eric having a good return to top form here as he comes across. His father used to be the top man in a big bicycle factory in Holland, and now he's retired, enjoys playing golf, and Eric Brooking shows him how he can turn those pedals. He wouldn't buy Eric a bike until he proved he was worthy of it, and now, well, he's certainly done that over the years.
3 kilometers to go, and it's Laurent Roux who's done all the work. You know, I think he's finally decided he isn't going to win this stage. He's going to try and keep it together now, because he has a teammate in the shape of Jesper Skibby who does have a good chance. Skibby hasn't done very much for the last few kilometers, but so many of these riders feel that they still have a chance of winning. And also the man there in the blue shorts on the right-hand side, Pascal Richard, he's been very attentive to these little attacks.
There's no pure sprinter in this breakaway. Richard does pack a fair finish, but there's nobody we'd actually call a real sprinter up here. So an opportunist could still win this race, and that's why they're all slowing down. They're so afraid of each other now. Nelson nears the camera at the back. Melchior Mauri on the inside the front. Brooking is the man in the lead. And Gualdi, who's just been caught, easing out of the saddle again, and Vanzella just behind him.
The worst place to be in a situation like this is in the first 2 or 3, because the attacks are always coming from behind. And if you're in 6th or 7th place, then you can keep a good eye on exactly who's going to start to attack next, because a rider always gives telltale signs just before he launches one.
It's a slightly uphill finish, by the way, and so there's always a chance that you can misjudge the sprint too here, as they all scuttle across to the left of the road once more.
Richard has gone to the front there. I think he just wanted to test the grounds a little bit to see. The riders will have studied this finish in the road book overnight, and it does indicate that there's a sharp climb, about 1.5 kilometers to go, and it doesn't look to me as if anybody has used this as a launch pad.
Not yet, but our camera's very tight on the front. Watch for the shadow as it comes through our lens here. Melchior Mauri looks across at Pascal Richard. There they are down at the bottom of the picture, and they spread out across the road again now. Brooking is gone, Richard's left on the far left, and again it's scrabble, scrabble, scrabble for the wheels. But I think Eric Brooking this time has put in a tremendous effort.
Yeah, but again, Laurent Roux has attacked behind to try and nail him down. You know, Roux has got right on his wheel. Yes, for Skibby. Skibby knows now that he's got a great chance. He doesn't want to let anybody get clear. He's probably the fastest man in the group of 9 riders at the front here, and he's been so close to several stage victories in the Tour de France. He doesn't want to make a mistake at a time like this.
So Skibby has moved up onto the wheel of his teammate, Laurent Roux. Look like David and Goliath, the 2 TVM riders there, as they ride 2nd and 3rd. Brooking realises he's been caught, so he's saving his effort, perhaps for a final shot. We go down the hill now, in towards the town centre of Puy. Then it's a slight rise up to the finish. Not a hill at all, but it could force you to make a misjudgment of the line.
Well, is there going to be a reenactment of yesterday, because the man at the back here, number 75, Garcia Casas, he hasn't been to the front over the last 4 or 5 kilometers, and he obviously watched the television last night, and he'll be hoping that that move can work 2 times. But now I think Laurent Roux has decided he's going to dedicate himself completely to Jesper Skibby in the hope that that man from Denmark can be the fastest in the sprint.
Coach O'Mara just thrown off his drinking bottle as we go into the 1 kilometre to go kite. It's a psychological thing. It makes you feel that little bit lighter. Now we're into the narrow streets here. Look at this massive crowd here in Le Puy to welcome the Tour de France and the breakaways who've been out front virtually the whole day today. Ever since we rolled away in beautiful sunshine. It's been a hot day as well, and it's going to be a pretty hot finish.
Well, they're all queuing up now. Eric Brookings at the back there, waiting for one last chance. Flavio Vanzella moving up down the outside. This man's been out for most of the season, but Laurent Roux is turning up the screws at the front there with Skibby in an ideal position.
Skibby in an absolutely ideal position now. He's got the team of little Laurent Roux, who's tried himself to get away without success. Moving up onto the wheel of Skibby in orange is Danny Nelson. Creeping up on the outside in blue is Vanzella. And Vanzella goes for the wheel, but he's lost it because, in fact, Skibby's got the wheel of Nelson now. As Nelson winds up for the line, Skibby looks like the man. He's won a stage in the past. Now Skibby's on the wheel of Danny Nelson. Nelson this time going for it. Surely he's not going to be beaten again like he was at Lac de Madine. But watch out for Pascal Richard. Richard's going to get it on the line. And on the left, Mirko Gualdi. But Pascal Richard coming right up the line, takes it easily on the line. Skibby second, Gualdi third. Fourth will be Danny Nelson. Fifth will be the Spanish rider Garcia. Well, what an amazing sprint, but we thought that Pascal Richard was the danger, and he read it perfectly. And this is how he did it. Pascal Richard has won most of the big races in the world at some time or other, and he won it very convincingly in the end, coming over the top of Jesper Skibby. And here comes the peloton as almost 15 minutes has expired now as they come up to the line. Moncassin is going to try and get the better of the green jersey Zabel. There's 15 points at stake as Moncassin goes to the line, but the green jersey is in there somewhere. At least he was. There he is on the far side of the road, and Zabel now going, Baldato coming. It's all too easy for Eric at the moment. He gets the 15 points and 10th place. So Pascal Richard gets the stage win after a break of 130 kilometres today. Second was the Dane Jesper Skibby, and third the ex-world champion from Italy, Mirko Gualdi. The main field came home 15 minutes later, and they were led in by Eric Zabel, who is so quick this year, while Chris Boardman was also safely there in that big bunch as well. Pascal Richard, a win in the Tour of Italy this year, now a win in the Tour, and this marries up nicely with the win he had at Briançon in 1989. Overall, well, they all cruised today, didn't they? So no change at all in the top 10, but the escape did damage the overall position of Chris Boardman, who slips a little. And it was quite an easy day too for the race leader, Bjarne Riis, an opportunity missed perhaps by his rivals, only time will tell. Well, I think perhaps today the riders did enjoy the scenery of the Ardèche because they certainly took their time in that big peloton. But how well it worked for the German Telecom team. They had almost a day off defending the leader, Bjarne Riis, and that could be very important over the days ahead. Tomorrow the riders go to Superbest. It'll be a much tougher day. A quick reminder, don't forget you can call us up on the internet. There's lots of interesting facts there on the Tour de France, and our competition telephone number is 0891 11 4400. Until tomorrow night at 6:30, goodbye.